you set here for this Friday night matchup. The starting lineup for Syracuse, it'll be Sydney Waller, Ava Palm, Annie Nikolnikova, Zaria Harris-Wadi, Skylar George, and Elizabeth Schuster as we are underway, and SMU takes the first point on a kill right up front. Here's Maya Tabron to send things away. Nikolnikova, a little bit mistimed at the front of the net. SMU a chance to take advantage. And that goes off the hands. It was either Palm or Nikolnikova right up front. SMU out to a quick 2-0 start. SMU jumped from 23 to 17 this past week. Palm with the receive. And Sydney Waller on the outside. First kill of the game and the first point for the Orange.
Coach Bake, he switched up the lineup for this game coming off of the 2 losses against UNC and Duke this past weekend, and Sydney Waller is in that lineup to start.
Waller made her first career start against Duke, and Coach Ganeshratnam says that she's been extremely consistent when she's found the court this year. And that, in all likelihood, has led to her second career start here on this Friday night. SMU 3, Syracuse 1, just getting underway here in the women's building. We have an early, looks to be rotational issue for Syracuse, as the referees are trying to pull Nikolnikova out of the game, it looks like, or at least the rotation for right now. Well, while they get this sorted out, Layla, it seems like, I mean, this is a great opportunity for Syracuse overall this weekend. You have the 17th ranked SMU team, one of the best in the nation, and then you're really facing the best in the nation on Sunday with Pitt. How does the Orange combat this challenge? They've had all week to gear up. Some tough teams last weekend too. It's kind of that stretch in the season for Syracuse where things start to get really tough.
Yeah, Coach Bakir said earlier on the call with him that the ACC is one of the best conferences right now. Having his team being able to compete against all these ranked teams and just strong competition, it only makes them better. Every day they're trying to improve their skills to be able to have high competition with the teams they're facing. So right now, I mean, it's going to be a good one for sure. And
Coach Ganeshratnam mentioned that he felt like they learned a lot more from the 2 losses this past weekend, even more than the tournament down in New York City where they swept 3 teams and went 3-0 just because of the level of competition that they faced. And that's a testament to the beauty of the ACC this year, especially bringing in Stanford and Cal. It's just a stacked conference.
100%. I mean, in preseason, they didn't really have high competition games. Coming into the ACC play is where they really see that talent, and they have to figure out how are they going to go against that.
Well, it's a good time to find out today. All right, so we have some substitutions here. Harris-Wadi back in. It looks like Emma Ortiz comes into the game. Nikolnikova exits. Not sure the exact reasoning here. And now Coach Ganeshratnam is going to call an early timeout for Syracuse. So some early miscommunication from the Orange, and Coach Ganeshratnam wants to talk things over with his new lineup that he's about to send out onto the floor. Well, bit of an early stoppage of play here, just getting started.
I'm wondering if that could be beneficial to Syracuse or if that could help, hurt them.
Well, it kind of reminds me of icing the kicker a little bit in football, where you're making the kicker wait an extra couple of minutes just to let him think it over. Obviously, we just started the game, so.
They do that too in volleyball. Coaches will call a timeout right before the server serves that ball. So maybe it's strategic.
Maybe they're just doing it really early on, you know? Why not? Oh, man. Well, for Syracuse, what do they have to do well tonight? I mean, it's going to be a tough challenge, but this team is so much more experienced than what the Orange had last year. What do they have to do to compete with SMU for the majority of the night?
I think to be able to compete with SMU tonight, blocking is very crucial. You have some heavy hitters on this side of the net, and you have to be able to stop them. Second is aces. Great serves, maybe not always an ace, but tough serves across the net gets a team out of system, and they're not able to run in system and have all three hitters hitting the ball over the net. So those two components is what Syracuse needs to focus on. And
Syracuse leads the ACC with those aces. They have 100 on the year. The second team in that category is Pitt, which will come to town on Sunday. They're at 92 aces so far this year. So a lot to watch out for in that category as we are waiting for both teams to come back out. SMU's ready to go, and here comes Syracuse out of the huddle. The Orange trail the Mustangs 3-1 here early on in set number 1. Nico Horning and Layla Rogers, happy to have you with us on ACC Network. And it looks like we are about ready to get rolling. I don't think any of these players have broke out a sweat yet.
Not yet, not yet.
About to happen here soon. So here is Natalie Foster to serve for SMU. She has an incredible action on her spin, and she shows that display right away. Head coach Sam Erger for SMU says that Foster has one of the better arms that she's ever coached. What sticks out to you when you watch this serve from Foster? Obviously, it's only happened a couple of times so far, and there's the broadcast jinx right there. She hits the tape, and Syracuse takes the point.
But a serve like that from Foster, it's very powerful, and it drops right in front of you. Those are the most dangerous serves to try to serve receive, and they drop right in front of you. You don't know what to do with it.
So if you're on Syracuse, what are you trying to do to react to a serve like that where there's going to be a lot more action on it, and trying to maybe lift that thing up or get it back over to one of your teammates?
All you can really do is make sure you're moving your feet, Nico. Get under that ball to be able to pass that ball, because it's a quick one.
Foster leads the ACC in aces so far this year. Ava Palm, who leads the Orange in about every category, served on that last point, but instead it's SMU. That takes over with a 5-2 advantage here in set 1. Naya Chamay with the service for SMU. So that point's going in the favor of SMU.
It seems like that was the second problem with being out of rotation for the Syracuse volleyball team.
What do you think has been up with this rotational issue that we've seen so far here in set 1?
I'm thinking maybe because there's new people on the court, they're not really sure where to go. But that has to be fixed soon, because that's easy points given away.
Definitely, but look at the stop up front from Nady Okamore. 6'4" Okamore. And Annie Nikolnikova's on the sidelines right now, but she's the only other Syracuse player at 6'4". So talk about some height. SMU showing that early on, up by 5.
And she's the blocking leader at that.
And that one goes a little bit too far. So Syracuse grabs the point. And a couple of more substitutions for the Orange. Syracuse did get a couple of players back from injury last weekend. Nikki Shimau, one of them, made her return last weekend. She was dealing with a knee injury during preseason. Finally, happy to have her back for Syracuse. That's what Coach Ganashrantnam told us earlier today when we talked to him. And then Elizabeth Schuster, one of the captains for Syracuse, who had suffered an injury in game 1, is back out on the floor. And she recorded a team-high 24 assists against Duke on Sunday. So you're right. There's been some rotational problems right off the bat, and I think a lot of that can be credited to some faces that are back on the floor that we haven't seen in a little while.
Right. Last year they had the same issue with injuries, multiple injuries at that. So hopefully this season it's a little different.
SMU getting the block party going so far. Syracuse had the chance, and this time it's Skylar George who shoves it over, and it goes off the hand of Jams Wheeler. And speaking of Annie Nikolnikova, she is back into the ball game. Right up there at the front of the net. Vashakovska, George, and Nikolnikova. And Schuster set up Nikolnikova, but this time it's SMU with another block. It's Okamore showing up here early on.
2 blocks already for Okamore. I mean, she's a powerful blocker. She is there, and she is ready to stop that ball each time.
Okamore had 4 kills and 5 blocks in the sweep against Clemson this past weekend. Leads SMU in blocks with 57 coming into today. And is this another rotational issue for Syracuse? SMU just racking up some free points. This has not been an issue for Syracuse all year, and there's been at least 2 or 3 points that have not gone in their favor because of these rotational issues.
Yeah, communication needs to be better over there. Making sure you're in the spot, helping your teammates out, because once again, those are free points to the other team.
10-4 SMU on top of Syracuse here in set 1. Ellie Bolton with the ball in her hands, about to send it away for the Mustangs. Boy, there's been some mistimed sets for Syracuse here early on, but a great dig on the ground by Shimau. And look at that, little misdirection from Celia Colin, who just surpassed her 4,000th career assist last weekend against Clemson. She's riding a lot of highs right now, and instead of setting her teammates up, she does it herself.
She's a lefty front row setter. Setters like those in the front row are dangerous, and they're very unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to do with the ball. Either set it or dump it over.
Bolton again, received by Nikolnikova, and she attempts to go for the kill. And a big block on the left side by Maya Tabron.
Right now, I see the Syracuse volleyball team, their strategies are trying to get the middles going, but the sets don't seem like they're high enough for the middles to be able to, do what they need to do off those sets. So that definitely has to be better.
Well, you mentioned it at the top. It's going to be important for those Syracuse blockers to get going because SMU's front court has been really lethal to start this game, and finally Syracuse gets something to go its way. It's Ava Palm finding the orange in the middle of the court on SMU's side.
Ava can get kills from the back row and the front row, and that was just the back row attack that was very good in the seam and a great point.
Syracuse down 7. Skylar George serving. Palm on the outside. Shimau to the back for George. Colin goes behind, and what a dig by Shimau. And the point ends up on the total of SMU.
The up rep is saying that she lifted that ball, and that's also not allowed in volleyball.
So how often do you see something like that happen where it's been a weird first set? We have rotational issues, we have the ball being lifted. There's been a lot of interesting things going on, and it seems like Syracuse can't find its rhythm so far to start this game.
Honestly, that's just unforced errors that need to be lessened. I mean, I don't know what else it is, Nico. It's just unforced errors that have to be stopped to be able to stay in the game with SMU.
That was almost our longest rally, if not our longest rally on that last point. Something that Coach Ganashrandam said his team's trying to get used to, especially as they go longer into ACC play, is having to withstand that stamina, play longer points, and most likely in turn play more sets in the game. Couple more substitutions here for Syracuse. Sierzan exits along with Vashakovska. Here is Elizabeth Schuster to send things away for the Orange. Oh, what a block, or what a kill rather. Natalie Foster doing it all for SMU, but another great assist from Celia Colin. Natalie Perdue records a service error for SMU, and Syracuse will take that. How about a free point in their direction?
We love free points. Everybody loves free points, Nico.
Everyone loves some free stuff. Got a free donut this morning.
Oh, wow, how was that?
Yeah, it was good. Nice glazed donut. Trying to stay away from those, but it was too hard to pass up.
When something's free, I mean, you can't say no.
That's pretty much accurate. SMU wins the point. And here is Okamore coming back into the game. Bolton takes a seat. SMU doubling up Syracuse in set number 1 here in Syracuse. Schuster to Palm, and she paints the corner.
Those deep corner attacks are the hardest ones to get, and she was able to place it perfectly where the other team just couldn't get it.
Well, it seems like as off as Syracuse might be here in this first set with a lot of errors, Ava Palm seems to be the one stepping up for the Orange early on.
She's leading the team right now in kills.
And how about a kill for herself for Nady Okamore? She's really set the tone early on for SMU. Her first kill of the game after a couple of blocks early on. Nia Chimay to send it off. Syracuse escapes some miscommunication early in that point. Pulling on the outside, and that is just a little bit too far left for Jams Wheeler, but boy, did she give that a nice effort. Sierzant and Waszyszkowska coming back into the ball game. Syracuse down by 7. Sierzant to send it away. And Wheeler's throw over goes too far. Finally, Syracuse with a couple of points that they're stringing together. What do the Orange need to take advantage of here middle in this first set to try and withstand the deficit that they face right now?
I mean, honestly, in this rotation right here, in this strong serve, this is one thing we talked about earlier. Just now, she got another ace. You're able to serve tough, you get teams out of system, and you get free points and easy balls right back over the net.
Coach Ganasharanam talked about utilizing the serve more than they have ahead of this game so far this year. And a great example of that twice in a row.
Sierzant is doing really well behind the line and very effective for her team right now.
Veronica Sierzant recorded her second double-double of her career last time out. And a nice dig there, sliding on her knees. Now it's Georgia's turn, and she gets it over.
The energy in the gym is picking up. The energy on the other side of the court is picking up. They're looking really good, trying to get points back on the board to tie.
What's changed for Syracuse in these last couple of points, being a little bit more consistent than we've seen so far?
I think those unforced errors, Nico. I mean, no rotational errors, no serves out, controlling the ball. They're doing a great job right now.
Sierzant lofted the serve, and this time Okamore comes up clutch for SMU. Well, it seems like when Syracuse has gone on a little run here and there, it's been Okamore putting an end to that statement. Sierzant goes behind to George. Chimay had the dig, and a chance for Syracuse to take advantage, but they mistime it. Zaria Harris-Wadi jumping a little bit too early, and Syracuse couldn't quite take advantage of that point. Wheeler to send it off again. Sierzant over to the far side for Waszyszkowska, and that hit the pin, so it's going in the favor of SMU, and all of a sudden the Mustangs have quieted down the Orange a little bit. 19-13, SMU on top of Syracuse here in set number 1. Nico Horning alongside Layla Rogers. And Layla, with your former Virginia collegiate experience, now having an opportunity to watch the game versus play in the game. What's that feeling got to be like, knowing that you're sitting up here watching things, analyzing things versus playing in it?
It's different, Nico. I mean, I'm used to being on the court and playing. I'm used to being with my teammates, cheering, everything, and just different, seeing it from a different point of view, seeing what other teams are doing strategy-wise to control what they're doing on their side to get more points on the board. Like, it's a different scene for sure.
Well, when you look at both of these teams so far, obviously you can look at everything on paper right away and look at the rankings, but also realize that Syracuse has a good record so far this year. What stood out to you most about the competition here in this first set, despite a couple of mistakes for Syracuse right away?
I think they were holding their own. That's one thing that Coach Ganesh Rodham said, that he wanted the team to be able to compete. He didn't want to get blown out. He wanted them to be powerful, compete, and stay in the game. And they're actually really doing that with serving, with aces, and just getting kills off attacks, such as Ava Palm.
And they can do it all. And Ava Palm is a great example of that. Leads the team in digs, leads the team in aces, and kills. She has really been versatile for Syracuse so far this season, transferring from California State Bakersfield. All right, back out of the timeout. It is James Wheeler to send it off. Sears-Anta Harris-Wadi, and she just got stuffed by Natalie Perdue.
The middle and setter connection right now seems a little off. Like I said before, those sets seem very low, and they're not high enough for the middle to be able to get contact on that.
How do you go about and fix that during a game? Because this game is so fast-paced that it seems like there's not a lot of stoppages for that communication to fix itself, as there's a great dig on the ground by Frazier. And that is just a little bit too far from Frazier as well, and now she exits the game for Bolton. Back to the communication in the middle. How do you go about adjusting that in a game like this, where yes, it's long, but also the points happen so quickly?
Honestly, it's just communication. You have to tell your setter, hey, I need that ball a little higher, or the setter needs to tell their middle, maybe you need to jump sooner, jump later. It's just communication between those two on the court.
Syracuse down by 5 here in set 1. Harris-Wadi with the serve. Just a little bit too far, maybe a couple of feet. And SMU with a free point.
It's only number 4 serve for
3 service errors for Syracuse so far in this game. SMU with 2 of its own. And here's Bolton. Nicole Nikova just goes a bit too far. Boy, that looked like it might have been in or a touch.
I think Coach is challenging that right now, pulling out that green card.
Exactly. Coach Ganesh Rodham is going to challenge that last point, ruled in the direction of SMU. So we will take a look at this, what this decision might be coming up. What did you see on that last point?
I personally saw a touch. I feel like it got the blocker's left hand and it was a touch, but I don't know. I mean, one thing in volleyball, if you may not know out there, is that you're able to get 2 challenges a game, and you get an extra challenge in that 5th set if you make it to a 5th set. So if Coach is able to win this challenge, he gets to keep his card, and he still has 2. If not, he loses that card, and he's down 1.
And it's one thing to hold on to your challenges till later in the game, but this was, maybe it's not the clearest call of all time, but the way the Syracuse players had reacted shows that you want to spend it early on.
Oftentimes when you see players' reactions on the court where they're very adamant on what happened, you know that it could possibly be a touch.
Well, we'll see what the ruling is here after the officials watch it over. For now, it's Syracuse down by 7. If this gets overturned, the Orange would be down by 5. So we'll see what the outcome is after this replay. Well, watching this team a little bit last weekend, how did you see Syracuse stacking up against North Carolina and Duke? I mean, the UNC game, the Tar Heels had the better of the Orange for the majority of it. Syracuse climbed back into it the 3rd set. But then we saw a closer match on Sunday that I think Syracuse has tried to carry into this week's practices and into this weekend as well?
I think all that was just going into ACC play and not really being prepared for what was on the other side of the net. I think it was just nervousness because right now, I mean, yes, they are behind SMU, but they're competing. They're holding their own. And I feel like if they played like this against Duke and UNC, it would have been a different outcome. Maybe possibly went to 5 sets.
Syracuse yet to lose a home match here at the women's building. SMU trying to change that. Again, we are in a replay review. First challenge of the game that we've seen tonight. We talked a little bit at the top as well, Layla, about SMU's front court and how good they can be. And Nady Okamore has shown that here early on in set 1. Coach Ganeshranam said if you don't defend them as a team, it's going to be hard to really come away with the win. What have you seen from SMU's front line so far?
They've been on it. I mean, they are tracking down the middle. They are tracking down the outside. They're getting great touches and great blocks, and they're big. They're very dominant, and they're taking that to their advantage.
Okamore with 2 kills and 2 blocks so far. Again, we're in a replay review on the last point that was ruled in the favor of SMU. 22-15 it stands right now. It is Greek life night here at the women's building. So as we look around, we got a lot of fraternities, sororities here in the building.
I didn't know that, Nico.
Well, you got the Pike shirts across. I can't exactly make out all the sororities here in the building, but there's a lot of Greek life happening here in the women's building tonight. Also, Otto's in the building. Always a good night when Otto the Orange
We love seeing
makes
Otto.
an appearance.
So much energy.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was calling the game here with Max Gifford, and Otto came up literally behind us here.
He did.
We were mid-game, we were in the broadcast, and I think Otto was just feeling a little bit left out.
He just wanted to say hi.
Yeah, always a smile on his face.
His permanent face.
What was your longest review? If you remember any reviews that you had at Virginia, was there one that stuck out where it was just like, oh my gosh, can this end? And I'm not saying we're getting to that point, but this is a pretty lengthy review.
I don't know, Nico. The longest review at UVA.
Because, you know, sometimes players bring up if...
I think the longest reviews like on any volleyball team and any volleyball game is when there's touches, because those are really hard to examine. You can't always see at certain angles if that finger touched the ball or not. And oftentimes I remember that I touched the ball, but the ref said I didn't. And you know what? That's a free point. I'll take it. You got to play it off. Got to sell it.
It's always a tough feeling when you know that you either did or did not touch it, and then they rule it differently.
I know.
It's because it all comes down to cameras, right?
100%. And the eyesight of the down ref.
Yes, that too. Still taking a look here at the video monitor there on the far side. Also on the Syracuse bench, as of note, really a bummer for the Orange this year. Klara Zarnovitska had an injury last weekend and appears to have torn her ACL for the 3rd time in the last 2 years. Just a really tough situation for Syracuse. She'd really come out hot this year after not playing all of last year, even though she was on the team roster last season. Just unfortunate for Syracuse and the Orange trying to make the best of Zarnovitska's absence. Zarnovitska also a senior on this team, the lone senior for SU, and a captain. And it's just an unfortunate situation to see her collegiate career end in this fashion.
I know injuries like that, like season-ending injuries, are always the worst. I mean, I feel so bad for her. She's been injured 2 other times before, 2 other ACL injuries, and now this is her 3rd one, and it's just done.
Right. Just a really tough situation for Syracuse, but she's going to turn her attention towards being a captain on the sidelines, being a vocal leader, and Coach Ganasharanam has full trust in her to do that. Boy, we are still awaiting a call, and here we go. So after all that, the call stands. SMU earns that last point, and the Mustangs hold a 22-15 advantage over the Orange here in the opening set on this Friday night. Nico Horning and Layla Rogers here with you inside the women's building. All right, we are back in action after several minutes of off time. Ellie Bolton to send things off for SMU. George with her second attempt. Colin. And that one goes over with the assistance of Natalie Purdue. The Orange blockers couldn't quite get it back on the other side. Purdue, grad student from Dallas, didn't have to go too far to play for SMU. Had a breakout year last year, and trying to continue that success here is now SMU has a service ace on its own. It's fourth of the game, and now it is set point for the Mustangs, up by 9.
Bolton being able to switch up her serve from a deep float serve to a short serve right in front of Ava Palm was a smart move.
And she does it again. Syracuse, although, stays with it. Now a free ball for SMU. Colin behind. And a little shove over, and the set win for Natalie Foster and SMU.
One thing they could do right now is set their attackers, set Ava Palm, Skylar George, get their middles going, and get great sets in the middles. Not low sets, not off sets, but nice sets in the middle.
Well, first point goes in the favor of SMU. Another service ace for the Mustangs. What have you seen from their serving department so far, especially with Maya Tabron and Natalie Foster taking the reins?
They just have great deep floater serves. I mean, when you have a float serve, the ball moves, and it's sometimes hard to get under, and they're doing a great job with that. Also switching up when the ball is short or deep to keep Syracuse on their toes.
Syracuse staying on its toes up front with Nikolnikova and Ava Palm. That time it splits the gap, and it falls down in front of Skylar George. SMU, a quick 2-0 lead. Tabron to send things away again for SMU. Tabron with one service ace so far. Nikolnikova just floats it over. And a great kill on the outside by Naya Shamay.
Nikolnikova only had the opportunity to just tip it over because, like I said before, I don't know, it seems like the sets are just off with the middles.
Nikolnikova's timing has been off today, and with her 6'4" height, you'd think that she'd have more opportunities like she usually does, but it's not been the same outcome for Syracuse.
I think that's one thing that needs to be discussed on the Syracuse side moving forward, that connection with the middles.
And after a couple of aces for Tabron, she records the error, and now Syracuse has a chance to take advantage down by 2. And hopefully, for Coach Ganasharanam, Nikolnikova can get going with a chance to block it up front. George on the outside, stopped by the hands of Naya Shamay.
There was simply no coverage right there of Skylar George. I mean, that was an easy ball to pick up after getting blocked.
Syracuse trying to stick with its composure, but it seems like SMU's just been in the right spot for the entirety of the ballgame so far.
They're playing a very steady game.
Here's the beautiful serve of Natalie Foster. Boy, the velocity on that just sticks out to you as George tries to go for the kill, but she is stuffed by Nady Okamore.
When you have big blockers like that on the other side, like Okamore, you can't really hit too close to the net and down. You have to be able to use hands or hit over because she's right on top of that net, pressing her hands over for that block.
Palm with a little bit of a twirl on the receive. And for Syracuse, that drops. Skylar George kept that thing in cross court, found the corner. Syracuse hanging in there, down 5-2. That serve from Foster just comes at you so fast. I mean, we saw Ava Palm almost lose control of that thing.
If I was on the other side of that, I would be scared. I'm not going to lie, Nico. Scary serve right there.
SMU wins that point.
Waller was right there for the block. I mean, the ball just went out. If she was able to press her right hand a little more into the court, she would have had that block, and it would have been a great one.
Seems like SMU is just winning the physicality game a little bit so far. Here's Chimay, and that serve goes way too far. Syracuse will take a free point as Veronica Sierzant and Sarah Waszykovska enter the game. Waller and Elizabeth Schuster take a seat. Here is Sierzant. Colin behind, and a great dig by Ava Palm. Here's Okamore, and she rises high, and this one goes a little bit too wide.
You can see they keep feeding her each time. They're trying to feed her the ball. She's a great player. She does great for the team, and I see why they would do that.
Well, it's also hard not to feed your 6'4" player at the front of the net, as this time they fake it to her, and SMU gets the friendly roll off the tape. Nia Chimay with the point and the kill for SMU coming in from the back row.
It was a great strategy by SMU. They had the middle jumping, so the blockers were jumping with Okamore, and then that back row was set, and she was able to attack him from the back row.
Well, it seems early on in this second set that as good as SMU's been up front, the serve's given him a couple of issues. Orange down by 2. Skylar George sends it over. Boy, these blockers just having a little bit of a tough time. It seems like every time SMU goes for the kill, it goes off one of the fingers of the front blockers for Syracuse. Is that just a positioning issue, or is that just tough luck at the end of the day?
Honestly, it could be tough luck as well, because SMU can be honest, using their hands and tooling them for points like that. Hitters sometimes will purposely try to hit the ball off of the blocker's hands to have the ball go out.
And look who storms in from the back. Zaria Harris-Waddy with the kill for SU. Harris-Waddy with the serve. Just a foot or two beyond the back line, and SMU takes a 9-6 lead over Syracuse. Celia Colin for the Mustangs. And back-to-back service errors, one by each team. This has been an issue here in this second set. What's the balance of trying to be aggressive on the serve, but also not recording too many errors to where you're going to fall into a deficit?
I mean, the balance, I think, would be just controlling your arm swing. You can have a powerful swing and keep the ball in, but sometimes if there's too much power put behind it, it will go all the way out.
And
far.
Yeah, and Foster's been one to kind of find her happy place, because her velocity is super impressive as the block recorded by Sydney Waller. She's all amped up, and Syracuse trails by just 1.
At the right place, at the right time for Waller. That was a great block.
Biggest block of the game for the Cuse. Bit of a mistiming effort by Syracuse. Nikki Shimal laid out, and SMU took advantage. Nothing you could really do about that.
I think she was trying to come up for the tip, but it ended up hitting off of the blocker's hands, and it went behind her. But she was there. If there was going to be a tip, she was going to be there.
Definitely in the right spot. Just unfortunate timing on that block by Syracuse that did not go in its favor. SMU 10, Syracuse 8. Here's Maya Tabron. Waller palms it over. And that's again off the hands of the front court for Syracuse. Chimay with the kill. Led the team against Georgia Tech last weekend with a .520 hitting percentage. And she surpassed 1,000 career kills this year. She did that in a 3-0 sweep against Baylor, and again SMU gets the favorable roll off the tape. And the Mustangs take a 4-point advantage as Coach Ganashranam and Syracuse call for a timeout. We'll step aside as well. Syracuse down 4 against SMU here in the second set at the Women's Building. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes on Welcome back to Syracuse. The Orange trail by 4 to the Mustangs of SMU. A new team in the ACC this year. SMU joins Stanford and Cal as the 3 new teams to enter the conference. Nico Horning and Layla Rogers here with you on ACC Network Extra. Thanks so much for joining us. Syracuse sticking with SMU here in the second set. And we'll see what happens here as we progress through the middle course of the ball game. Palm on the outside, blocked up front by Nia Chimay. So Layla, it's been an adjustment for SMU and head coach Sam Erger in her 3rd season with the Mustangs. They have dominated the AAC the last couple of years. They went 18-1 last year, went all the way to the second round in the NCAA tournament. So they have been a competitive team. Now you make it even more competitive by joining arguably the toughest conference in the ACC as Ava Palm records the kill for Syracuse. How have they withstood the competition so far this year with some huge wins?
They've honestly been doing a great job. I mean, just playing their game. Like you said before, they came from a conference, but they had pretty good success. And bringing that into the ACC, I mean, they're doing a great job because the ACC is one, like we said, the best conference in the country right now. And they're handling themselves very well.
And some luck goes on Ava Palm's side as well as she gets a service ace with a friendly roll off the tape. Syracuse down by 3. We talk about a couple of the key wins for SMU this year. They upset second-ranked Nebraska at the time. They've swept 13th-ranked Georgia Tech They swept Clemson last weekend. They beat Baylor, the 10th ranked team in the country at the time. So they have an impressive resume already, and we're not even at the midway point of the season.
They're definitely trying to make their name be known on a bigger platform.
The win over Nebraska for SMU was the first time an unranked team has swept Nebraska in a decade. Just a remarkable outcome of that contest as Syracuse is down by 3. Here is Emma Ortiz to serve, and it goes too far. Point SMU. And speaking of one of the other, top teams in the ACC, Stanford, Syracuse has to travel there next weekend. So a lot of mix-up in the conference overall, but some great, really great competition, I think, for all teams and coaches to be happy with who they're playing throughout the year.
Yeah, and a lot of conferences, you have some teams like having a schedule where it's not a hard team each time, but in ACC, every team you play is going to be a competitive team. You're going to have to give it your all to win that game.
James Wheeler finds the gap for SMU. The Mustangs take a 5-point advantage here in set 2. And that's one thing we talked with Coach Erger about, was the fact that basically in the last few years, SMU had their toughest stretch of the schedule at the front of the season. In non-conference play, they'd face all these good teams. They'd try to compete as well as it could and get some wins. And then it seemed like in conference play in the AAC for SMU that they kind of had to win every game because of the lack of strength on the other side. Now it's pretty equal and much more competitive during the course of the games than it was last year. A huge rally here between Syracuse and SMU midway through the second. Still alive. Ortiz to the far side, and Syracuse wins the longest rally of the night. Sydney Waller with the far side for Syracuse, and oh no, it is Elizabeth Schuster a little bit shaken up for SU as she grimaces off the court a little bit for Syracuse. And here comes Mira Littermoller potentially, and now coaching staff for Syracuse.
It looks like she landed on that wrong when she went down to grab a tip. She's just coming back off of an injury, and I don't know, Nico.
We saw Clara Zonovitz go down last weekend with a torn ACL, her 3rd in the last 2 years. Now it's Elizabeth Schuster, who you just mentioned, is returning from injury. And now is figuring out what appears to be her right leg on the bench. Hopefully everything's all right for Schuster and Syracuse. SMU gets the point out of that really exciting rally until that injury happened. And credit to Syracuse for sticking with it. Sydney Waller finishing it off. Just a sad outcome for SU.
Yeah, that rally was a long one. There was bodies on the floor, lots of digging, lots of setting, lots of tipping, lots of hitting. It was great volleyball for sure. And Syracuse was able to pull it out and get that point.
Schuster stretching out her right leg. She's holding her right knee with her right hand. Bit of a grin on her face as she's trying to work it out. Haraswani smacks it down. The Cuse down 4, and Skylar George a chance to make it even less of a deficit. And George's service goes a little bit too wide. Orange down 5. Schuster, one of the captains on the Syracuse team, came from Oregon State last year. Has Pac-12 experience and now playing in another great conference with the ACC. Just a really tough situation for Schuster. We'll see what comes out for this for SU. Still laying that right leg across 3 chairs on the Syracuse bench. It's a problem that has been avoided this year, at least so far for Syracuse. Yes, a couple of preseason minor injuries, but lately it's been Zarnovitska, and now we'll see what happens with Schuster as well, that has plagued the Orange and messed up some of their rotations in the last couple of games. Syracuse keeps it alive. George with a free ball over to SMU. What do they do with it? They send it a little bit too far. Natalie Newsom couldn't quite keep it in the back row, and Syracuse takes the point. Annie Nikolnikova back into the game for SU. Layla, what have you seen with Syracuse here in the last few points, losing one of their players, at least so far here in this game?
They're definitely keeping it up. I mean, with an injury like that, it's hard to continue to play because that is your teammate. You care for her, but you have to stay in the game and stay focused. And just like that, a great big block from Nikolnikova.
There's what the Orange have been missing tonight. Nikolnikova finally gets a block to go her way.
The rallies are getting longer as well, Nico.
They are.
The back and forth, it's looking good. Only down 4 points.
SU making some adjustments. Coach Ganashranam excited to see those longer rallies. Really thinks it's a good challenge for Syracuse. And this time, the rally goes awry for Naya Chimay with the kill.
Chimay was able to find the openness between the seams and hit right through it for that attack kill.
Chimay with her 4th kill of the night, and that point a couple of attempts ago by Nikolnikova, that was just her 2nd kill of the night. We are in set 2. Nikolnikova has been lethal up front so far for Syracuse this season. SMU takes another point. Nikolnikova's had double-digit kills in her last 4 of 5 games. Trying to keep that fortune. Syracuse with the point. Great effort by Veronica Sierzan on the far side, and now it's Littermoller coming in for Waszykovska. Sierzan exits as well. And Sydney Waller greets the Orange in the front row. Littermoller to send it away for SU. The Orange have been balancing some of their setters since the return of Schuster between her, Littermoller, and Sierzan. And now it's Littermoller's turn. And that went off maybe the forehead of Nikolnikova as she moved her right hand towards her forehead on that point. SMU gets the favorable bounce. Littermoller behind it, Nikolnikova on the right side. And Palm couldn't quite place that one where she wanted. SMU's pulling away with the lead here in the 2nd set. Layla, what have you seen with the Mustangs all of a sudden propelling themselves to potentially another set win?
Right now, I see the Mustangs just doing what they need to do on their side, not having any unforced errors. They're doing great with attacking right now and just honestly keeping the ball in system and in play.
SMU looks to continue that after this timeout by Syracuse. It's a 23-16 advantage for SMU over the Cuse.
You see the players in the timeout talking. Right now, Sydney Waller looks like she's very adamant on whatever she's saying to get this team going to try to tie up the score.
Waller definitely one of the vocal contributors on this team. You gotta love those player huddles because right now it's Coach Ganashranam and the rest of his staff talking things over. For Syracuse, it's about getting a breather, but also figuring out as a team, what do they need to do differently going forward? And now, of course, it's the coaching staff and the players combining things.
I mean, because even if a team loses a set, they're able to bring that momentum into the next set,
right,
and possibly take that set from the other team as well. So
SMU took the opening set 25-15, and then Syracuse trails 23-16 here in the 2nd set. Coach Ganashrandam told us this morning, against these tough teams this weekend, SMU 17th in the nation tonight, #1 Pitt on Sunday, that you need a good performance from more than just one or two players, and I think Syracuse has had a bit of trouble finding that team consistency tonight. Lettermuller back to Palm, and that goes off the block attempt of SMU.
We mentioned it before, Ava Palm is a leader on the court. She is one of their go-to attackers, and setting her that ball was a perfect moment to get a point for Syracuse volleyball team.
Palm just had her 4th kill of the game. She leads SU with 4 kills along with Skylar George. And now she sends it away. Colin behind. And the kill by Naya Chamay. Boy, she has been really dominant for SMU on that right side tonight.
She's a powerful attacker for sure. I mean, she's able to see the block and hit around it just like she did just now. She saw it open, seen down the line, and she got that kill.
Set point for SMU here in the second. Natalie Foster with the wicked serve. George contains it. Nicole Nikova a chance. SMU contains. Off the hands of Nicole Nikova. Syracuse keeps it alive. Palm wrists it over, but this time Syracuse appears to have touched the 2 sets, 25-15 and 25-17. Nico Horning, happy to have you with us here alongside Layla Rogers on this Friday night. And right away, it's SMU starting things off with the kill. Natalie Foster gets it down for SMU. Syracuse has been a bit inconsistent as of late, some rotational issues to start the game. We saw some errors that way. And then ultimately, Elizabeth Schuster was injured on the last play. Not sure the extent of that, but she did exit the game on her own power. Looked to be a potential right leg injury, maybe. She was stretching it out. And for Syracuse, that impacted them midway through the second. And now a couple of new figures here early on in set 3.
Yeah, I think Schuster going down kind of disrupted the dynamic and the flow of the team. And they didn't really know what to do at that point in time, and they weren't able to get points on the board. But now going into a new set, we have a new middle on the court. Sydney Moore is in the match.
To have started every game this season for SU. Obviously, she ended that tonight not starting for Syracuse, but in her first season with SU, came from Cornell. It really adds a lot of depth and some experience at the middle blocker position, so could provide a good run for Syracuse here in the third set. And that service just goes a bit too far for Maya Tabron, and Syracuse earns the point, and they're down by 2 here in set 3. And we are going to have a early challenge here in the third set. Coach Erger and SMU are going to use their first challenge of the night. We saw Coach Ganashrandam in Syracuse use one earlier on, and now it's SMU's turn to try things out.
Going into this match, Nico,
we had a bit of a tough angle to see if that was in or out on the other side with that service, but we'll see what they
refs say about it. Yeah.
That first review was extremely long, so we'll see how this one plays out.
Typically, when it comes to the ball being in or out, it's an easier call to make. So
for sure. It's those touches like we talked about last time where
that are hard.
You can look at those on multiple angles and still never get the right answer.
They're trying to see if a finger is being bent backwards, if a hand moves. Like, those are the difficult ones. But an in or out ball, this should be fairly quick.
Sydney Moore, we talked a little bit about her a couple of minutes ago, but someone that really brings a great presence in the net, also an impactful leader at such a young age for SU, and maybe a bit of a change of scenery, a change of life for SU to get things going here coming out of that challenge.
Sydney Moore is also one of the team's leading blockers. She does a great job on the net defensively, and she may be able to stop some of the hitters on the SMU side.
Syracuse down by 2 the Orange win that challenge. So SMU and Syracuse have both lost a challenge tonight. And look who it is up front. Sydney Moore with the block. Ava Palm to send it away for the Orange. Great dig by Littermuller, but it goes well into the stands. Had the composure to stick with it, but obviously the power from the back row of SMU forcing Littermuller to put that one aside.
Naya Shamay has been a great impactful attacker for SMU. I mean, she has put so many points on the board. Her arm swing extremely fast and extremely powerful. She's a great attacker.
8th service error of the night for SMU. See if Syracuse can take advantage of that going forward. Ortiz to send it off. Colin behind. Shamay again. Here's Harris Waddy trying to go for the quick throw over. And it didn't quite result in her favor with the point favoring SMU.
Yeah, that was 4 touches right there. Her ball did not clear the net. So the ref said, nope, SMU point.
Orange down 5-3 here in set 3. Palm with a far set to Waller, and it's a bit too strong.
We talked about those tough serves earlier from SMU. I mean, they're able to get Syracuse out of system a lot of the times and not have an in-system attack. Like just now, Sydney Waller was set an out-of-system set, and she just wasn't able to get a point off of it, but SMU is doing a great job with the serving.
Boy, another service error for the Mustangs. Naya Shamay couldn't get it over, and that is service error number 9 for SMU. Syracuse only has 6 thus far in the game, and the Orange only trail by 2. You'd think at some point they got to take advantage of those service errors, but it seems like every point after, they're just falling short of doing that. Shamay sends it over. Ortiz goes behind to George. Stopped up front by the hands of Celia Colin. Colin's been a bit of a sneaky player so far tonight for SMU. 22 assists on the night, but also helping out in other ways. Gets a kill right there. Great dig by Frazier. Free ball for Syracuse. Harris Waddy goes 0 for 2. Waszyszkowska. And that time, Syracuse wins the point.
Her hit just hit the head of Nadie Okamore, and it bounced right into the stands and got a point.
Orange still down 2. George, the second leader in aces on this SU team, records the service error for Syracuse, and SMU takes over. 8-5 Mustangs. Ellie Bolton to send it away. Great kill by Waszyszkowska. Waszyszkowska also coming off some injuries for Syracuse. She's had to build up from 2 major knee injuries after spending the last couple of seasons at Towson. And Coach Ganasharanam's excited to have her back on the court. Not easy to return from injuries like that. Just ask someone like Klara Zarnovitska, who's had to deal with that. Elizabeth Schuster's been banged up, Nikki Shimau as well, but some of those injuries can really get to you.
Yeah, no, it's not easy at all, but she's been doing a great job of able to get back into the game and get points and be a great attacker. It seems like they're trying to find her on the court to get those points.
Washakovska with 4 kills here in this match. Syracuse behind to Washakovska, and another kill. That's number 5. She now leads the team.
Even though she's rotating out right now, continuing to set her is one of the best decisions that Syracuse could have done right now in this moment, because she's on fire and she's getting the kills.
Washakovska bringing some life to SU, and now bringing that life to the bench where maybe Syracuse can get their team fired up on the court. Syracuse exited as well, and now it's Littermuller with the serve. And a great misdirection and throw over by SMU. It's Naya Chamay with kill number 9 on the night. She leads the SMU department. Here's Tabron. Littermuller falls on the sideline. Keeps it in for SU. Colin. And that kill by Foster goes off a Syracuse hand. All of a sudden, SMU once again making that 2-0, 3-0 run that we've seen all night, right as Syracuse tries to break the streak. That seems to be a common theme really for the majority of the night in every set.
Yeah, SMU is doing really good offensively on their side, setting different hitters, mixing it up, and they're very successful right now. And
this is one of the things that's been happening as well and reoccurring all the time is these service errors rather for SMU. Number 10 on the night.
It's happening on both sides. I mean, they both have to clean that up.
SMU stands tall. Naya Chamay again. And that is officially Chamay's 10th kill of the night. SMU leads 12-8.
When she's on that right side, she has a very strong cross-body attack every time she hits the ball.
Chamay again. SU too far. Sydney Waller couldn't keep it in, so Syracuse now down by 5. But Naya Chamay has been the story of this third set. She has really come up clutch for SMU, stands at 6 feet tall, grad student for the Mustangs. Transferred from Wyoming a couple of years ago. Already has 1 season under her belt. And Chamay, really one of the most athletic human beings that Coach Erger has talked about. She said that she can dunk a tennis ball. There was one time a year ago where she tried to do an aerial and she just did it. Back handspring, she can do it all, and she can do it on the volleyball court as well.
She surely can. Even if their sweep against Georgia Tech last week, she led the team in hitting percentage.
SMU is just putting its force on Syracuse here in the middle stretch of the third. And they have a 7-point advantage over Syracuse. It's 15-8. Mustangs on top here in set 3. A 4-0 run for SMU. 17th ranked SMU trying to close things out here in Syracuse. 15-8, Mustangs lead the Orange. George on the outside, it hits the pin. And this goes in the favor of SMU. Another point for the Mustangs, continuing now a 5-0 run that started before the break.
With that hitting error right there with Skylar George, it looks like Littermiller set the set a little too far outside, and she got the antenna, and it was called out.
It's one of those many mistakes tonight that we've seen from Syracuse, dealing with a lot of rotational issues. Littermiller was not really a part of the game early on, but since Elizabeth Schuster exited with what appeared to be a right leg injury, Littermiller has been taking more of the time, and Skylar George is all fired up there on the far side. It's the depth. It's really a good problem for Syracuse, is the depth. And yes, they're having some issues playing together a little bit in this game that we haven't seen much of the season. But it's you want that problem at the end of the day versus last year. This Syracuse team was so young. A lot of sophomores filling the void, and now with 5 grad transfers for Syracuse, they can withstand a little bit more. And for someone like Littermiller that played a lot last year, led the team in assists last year, she's now taken a bit of a back seat, I guess you could say, in this game, but she's been so prominent to start this season that she's just trying to find her footing again.
Yeah, Nico, upperclassmen on a team is always a plus. You're able to have girls on the court who are experienced and know how to handle certain situations that are occurring. So Syracuse being able to get those transfers in was a great, great opportunity for them to be able to compete this season in the ACC.
Littermiller leads the team with 8 starts this year. So again, kind of riding off what she did last year. A lot of that due to the injured Elizabeth Schuster, who returned last weekend. Recorded a team-high 24 assists against Duke, but unfortunately has exited this game here tonight. So Littermiller has the reins in her hands again as SMU records that last point. And the Mustangs are up 18-10 over the Orange here in set 3. Nico Horning chopping it up with Layla Rogers. And something we've seen a lot of tonight is those service errors, really on both sides, but especially for SMU. That's number 11. Problem is Syracuse hasn't been able to take advantage.
Yeah, but I could also say, like, those service errors on the SMU side, it's kind of what's keeping Syracuse in the game right now.
Oh, Colin tried to go with a sneaky backside. George from the back, and she comes up with the point. It's off of Bolton.
Skylar George's back row attack is extremely well. I mean, she can do it from the front row and the back row. Her height when jumping and getting over the net and avoiding the blocker's hands, she did a great job with that kill.
Now leads the team with 6. Ho ho! Painting the corners. Maya Tabron just placed that in a beautiful spot where Syracuse couldn't get to it.
That's just skill right there, being able to see an open area on the court and putting it right in that spot where defenders are not.
Tabron with kill number 4. Here's Bolton. Searzanta Harris-Wadi, and she comes up with her 3rd kill of the night. We saw this in the last game against Duke and North Carolina. Syracuse showing their best abilities in that 3rd set. And so far, even though they're down by 6, they're showing some late life and late stamina against SMU, and they get another point right there.
Yeah, it seems like it's the 3rd set where they always try to crank things up. And I feel like if they had this energy in the first 2 sets, could have been a closer score.
I think Coach Ganeshwaran would like to have that opening set back, especially those first few points. Just some rotational mistakes for Syracuse and nothing went their way, but a lot of things are going their way here in the last few points.
Sydney Moore with the block. Once again, a great blocker, one of the leaders for the team in blocks. She's able to be at the right spot, hands pressed over, and get a point for her team.
Syracuse down 4. And now only down 3. A 4-0 run for Syracuse causes a timeout for SMU. SMU 19, Syracuse 16. Layla, what has brought the Orange some life here late in the third?
Just the energy. I think something that was said after that second set in the team huddle was basically in that position, I think, come onto the court, stop making errors, be able to be dominant on the net for blocks, and just have great swings. Don't be scared. I feel like they were playing a little timid in the first 2 sets, but now they found their groove, and they're doing a great job with being able to almost tie up that score and stay in the game with SMU.
A 12-0 start to the season for Syracuse. Finally lost its first 2 games of the year last weekend. Also first 2 games of ACC play. They dropped one to UNC on the road and then also lost to Duke. And now they're back at home and a place where they've had their winning ways this year. 5-0 on the season here in the women's building, and obviously down 2 sets to none. Trying to avoid a third. They're down by 3. So those are the stakes right now for Syracuse, and ultimately, even if they do drop this third set, trying to take as many positives away as they can going into an extremely tough game here in the women's building on Sunday against the top team in the country, Pitt.
Yeah, that's one thing Coach Ganesh Radham said is even if they do lose some games, being able to walk away and know that you learned something from that match and take something away to practice for the next one.
Coach Ganesh Radham was more excited with his 2 losses last weekend than 3 wins in a non-conference tournament just a few weeks ago. Syracuse another point out of the break, and the Orange are down by 2.
You can feel the energy shift in the gym as well as on the team. I mean, they're hype right now.
Good energy for SU, trying to keep it that way. Harris Waddy. Palm had the block on that last point. And this time, Syracuse couldn't get it to go. SMU earns the point. SMU by 3 here in the third set. The closest set of the night, that's for sure. And another service error for SMU.
And we like to call those free points, Nico.
We talked earlier, we all love free stuff. Casey Badenhorst with the service error on that last point for SMU. Led the team in service errors last year for the Mustangs. Orange down 2. Free ball for Syracuse. What do they do with it? Searzant does everything with it. How do you like that?
Something about those front row setters, man. Tricky ones. It's a great job with Searzant mixing it up and deciding to dump that ball and get an attack kill on that ball.
Searzant's first kill of the night. Syracuse down 1. And they have tied this game here in the third.
Sydney Moore has come into the set, making an impact on the team. I think she had 2 blocks right now, huh, Nico?
Moore with a couple. Huge impact for Syracuse in this game. Coming in the third set, and an unfortunate service error for the Orange. Waszykovska, who has been extremely beneficial for Syracuse tonight with 5 kills, came up short on that last service.
Right now, Syracuse needs to serve, receive, and end this right now to get the ball back.
Syracuse was down 18-10. They now trail by 1, and they've tied it up for the second time in 3 points. Credit to this late life Syracuse squad doing it in the third set. 21 all. The Cuse hoping to avoid a sweep. Waszychowska kept it alive. And now it's a fight at the top. George throws it over. It's back to SMU. Sierzant sets up George. And a great block by none other than Naya Chamay, quieting things down a bit here in the women's building as SMU takes the lead again. Timeout, Syracuse. The Orange are back in this thing, down 1 here in the third set. We've got the rest of it for you right here on ACC Network Extra. Nico Horning and Layla Rogers here in the women's building on this Friday night. Back in just a minute. Syracuse trailed 18-10, and now the Orange are down by just 1 after tying it up twice here in the last few points of set number 3. Syracuse trying to avoid a sweep by 17th ranked SMU. Out of the timeout, Sierzant sets up Waszychowska. Great team effort by Syracuse to keep it alive. And now it's Chamay. And she comes up with the point for SMU. She has quieted things down a lot tonight at key moments in this match.
The one thing head coach Ganesh Ranam said moving forward is that he was really excited to play these big teams this weekend. SMU right now, Pitt on Sunday, he said excitement was what the team was. They weren't scared, they were ready, and I think with a set like this and the back and forth, this is what they were anticipating. They wanted this.
Absolutely huge to have this positivity later on in the game versus what Syracuse had in the first couple of sets. Opening set, they lost 25-15. Second set, they dropped 25-17. And we were even talking about this team trying to take some positives away midway through this third set when the Orange were down like 6 or 7. Now they've tied it up a couple of times, and they have shown, I think, a rotation and some players on the floor that have finally meshed together well. What had stuck out to you in that department here in the third set?
I think we're getting more blocks on the board right now. Sydney Moore has done a great job of coming in and being able to get blocks up, and also attackers just keeping the ball in and attacking aggressively.
Those blockers didn't come up with much in that opening set, and you talked about it. You said that Syracuse needs to have their front line going. It took a while, but finally we've seen some progress from Ava Palm. Waszychowska's really stepped up for Syracuse here in the third with 5 kills, and Skylar George might have been the key player here in the third. with a team-high 6 kills for Syracuse.
I think another thing, Nico, their defense right now is looking extremely well. Bodies are on the court. They are getting these short balls, these tips that SMU was giving them. They're not really letting much balls drop. That's one thing that you need. You need to have effort, and you need to have motivation to want to get those balls to continue to play.
We saw SMU early on really having their way. Maybe some friendly rolls, finding spaces where Syracuse wasn't. Just, it seemed like the Orange were a little out of place, and now they're playing much more as a team, and it's proved to be effective for them. Syracuse down 2. And that service goes awry for the Orange. Ava Palm couldn't quite contain it. And that's what you get when Natalie Foster is serving for SMU. Just a really incredible service. If you watch the arc of this ball and the speed. Boy, that's tough. George, there's a point for Syracuse.
In that play right there, George was able to get around Nadine Okamore's left hand and bang it cross court for that kill. She saw the block and she went directly around it.
George's 7th kill of the night. Orange down by 2 once again. Set point for SMU. Chimay off Searsant. The Orange keep it alive. They toss it over. SMU a chance to end it. George. Searsant to Harris Waddy. George keeps it alive. Free ball for SMU. On the near side. Lamoran wins it for the Mustangs. It was a great effort in the third. Syracuse showed a lot of late life, but all in all, the 17th ranked team in the country,